Do you now stick with the same lineup, your best lineup? Because it always felt like we made some wholesale changes from game 1 to game 2, and then kind of made the team then game 3 very similar to kind of a mix of 2 and 1. And it never felt like we could build any continuity or consistency in the lineup. Do you think Gregg just says, listen, we just need probably 10 points to qualify now. So if we can get 7 in this window and just need to win, we still have our 3 hardest games left: away to Costa Rica, away to Mexico, and away to Canada. Those are our 3 hardest away games. And we only have 3 home games left. It's Panama, it's Honduras, and El Salvador. Like, we can't dick around anymore. I can understand at the beginning of the window, you're trying to mix lineups and you're hoping for the best. I don't want to hope for the best anymore. I want to put our best guys out there. Do you expect Gregg to do that? And how do you think he'll continue through the rest of the 8 days?
Yeah, I mean, this is what's unique, Jimmy, is when you look at the rest or the remaining games in World Cup qualifying for the U.S. men's national team, you mentioned the 3 hardest games, but you don't want to go into your final window having to play Costa Rica away.
Yes.
Very hard regardless. Costa Rica could put 11 traffic cones on that field, and they would be very hard to play against down in Costa Rica. Mexico away, and then you've got Panama at home. You like your chances there. If you need 3 points, great. I still think the U.S. gets more than 3 points out of those 3 games, but I don't want to leave it to the final 3 games. We saw the horrors of, U.S. couldn't get a result in 2018, completely different team. Don't want to compare it, but you are seeing that any given Sunday, things like that can happen. And so you have to look at this window and say, I might take more risk than I did before in terms of minutes placed on players. You're also talking about 2 home games and an away game, all 3 of which are going to be pretty minimal travel between them. So I think it's less distance covered going to Canada, Hamilton, going to Columbus, going to Minnesota, pretty light travel, right? So I think you have the argument to say, I'm going to play a more consistent lineup, at least for the first 2, and maybe your third, but I would love to see 6 or 7 players, whether it's up the spine or otherwise, play every single one of these games, knowing that it's a very tight window. It's a tight turnaround. Players have a mix of minutes or not, in terms of their health and fitness. But I would just love to see that consistency so we can see this team build. We're talking about MMA now because we've gotten enough looks out of them to say, hey, they should start every game. When I think about the fact that if you did MMA in the game 1 and then you put in Kellen Acosta for the second match, I go, okay, now I've just lost the rhythm of how we're going to break down this Canada team. I get it, how we're going to fight with the Canada team and how we're going to match up, covering ground. But now we've lost our ability to play a little bit with Kellen Acosta just because he doesn't have the same rhythm as MMA do in the midfield. And so when I think about all of that, I'm like, hedge your bets. I was critical of all the rotations earlier on. I would be critical again, but this is the one where you're like, man, let's go for these points. Let's not get desperate. Let's go for these points, and let's at least keep 6 or 7 players in the starting lineup, game after game after game, to play those 3. Travel is minimal. Yes, it's inclement weather, but let's just go for it. So we set ourselves up for that final round, not needing to go away from home and say we got to at least win one of the 2 or both of those even.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page, and I don't want to wait till the last window to scrape out a result. It's going to be very difficult. Mexico is going to be a little desperate, I think, at that point too, right? Everybody's just going to let's just both get in at this point. And well, I mean, obviously, if we had an opportunity to knock them out,
Jimmy, here's a good pivot for you. But are any of the players in yellow card danger? I think it was David that just made a comment about if there's suspensions or something like that. That could change the dynamic of things or force you to be a little more conservative if you need those points. Now it's a little bit of a tactical reasons on how you rest players or keep them in, keep them out, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure who's in. Okay, Tyler Adams, Zach
Steffen, and DeAndre Yedlin are all carrying cautions. Another yellow card for any will result in a 1-match suspension.
Okay, so maybe I don't know about Zach Steffen. I'm sure he's going to be smart about that as a goalkeeper. But you never know in game what could happen, whether it's a foul or a penalty, God forbid. But those types of things do happen. But Tyler Adams is another one where you're like, okay, if not him, then are you naturally just putting in your next in line in Kellen Acosta? I mean, what do you want to see, Jimmy, from those 3 games? Do you want to see consistency?
I do, and I know
you do, but tell me, how much is consistency for you?
Well, I'm just excited that Thomas Tuchel is clearly a U.S. men's national team fan. He rested Christian Pulisic ahead of this big window. Tyler Adams didn't start for RB Leipzig. I really appreciate it. Maxi Allegri clearly doesn't care about the U.S. men's national team, keeps rolling out McKinney game after game after game. No, jokes aside, I don't want to see too much, as some people are saying in the chat. We got to see McKinney and Adams every single game. obviously that raises the risk of Tyler Adams is going to get a yellow at some point. And you're kind of like, hey man, maybe just get it against Canada. I think we can handle Honduras without you, kind of thing. I don't know. That's
okay. Which one do you want him? Which one do you want him?
I would say the Honduras game. If he picked up a yellow in Canada, I wouldn't be sad about it. I don't want him to miss any of the games in the last window. I don't want him to miss away to Costa Rica or home to Panama or away to Mexico. I don't. You don't think
having Tyler Adams against Honduras is more important than having Tyler Adams against Canada away?
Well, no, I want him to be there for Canada away. Unless you think we're going to sit back, and then at that point, I'm not saying anybody's a cone in that.
But are you finding we're going to in Hamilton, Ontario, we're going to build up and build through like in a way that MMA do together, or would you rather have Kellen Acosta in that place to be able to fight and scrap out, which he's very capable of and very good at?
Are you saying that you want Greg to tell Tyler to get a yellow card against El Salvador so he misses the Canada game?
I'm just looking to bet on. I'm looking to bet on one of these, and I just want to know which one you think I should bet on. Tyler Adams getting a yellow.
What a surprise! An Arsenal fan who just had an Arsenal player accused of getting the yellow.
I'm looking to place a small wager on a player that's going to get a yellow card some point in the window to get a suspension, and I just need you to tell me which one that is.
I would say that. I mean, obviously Tyler Adams is going to try to play in every single game. That's his mentality, but his mentality is also to run 100 miles an hour all the time and be there and covering so much ground. I don't know. I think his presence in Canada would be felt if he wasn't there, if he wasn't on the field.
Yeah.
I do think that we might not be building up the same way when it's snowy and cold, but he has that. He's an emotional engine for us. Mm-hmm. And I think he's a leader in tough moments. And not to say that Kellen Acosta doesn't have that, but I think Tyler Adams just demonstrates it a little bit more consistently and frequently. I wouldn't make too many changes at all, man. At this point, it might be a battle of attrition. You might get some club coaches that are pissed. But I would try to roll out the same team.
What? Those guys aren't playing in Europe. So just
some of them are. I mean, you got McKinney, you got Anthony Robinson, you got a couple of guys maybe. I mean, that's pretty much it. Maybe those are the only two. Ricardo Pepi might be one. Brendan Aronson could be another. Christian Pulisic in and out of the lineup, not even playing in his best spot when he does play all the time. So, yeah, I guess there'd only be a few coaches that would be pissed. But I would try to roll out. I would make very minimal changes. I would maybe make 1 or 2 changes a game, not this big 6 or 7. That we saw in other windows.
8, you're talking about 8 or 9, 8 or 9 same starters all the way through.
Yes.